Now we start discussion. Sri Kapil Sibal.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to initiate this discussion on the Finance Bill 2017. So I have very carefully read through the Finance Bill, and I find certain very disturbing trends which reflect the mindset of this government. And before I take up particular provisions of the bill, I would like to enunciate 6 disturbing trends. First, this government, through the Finance Bill, is wantonly giving a push to crony capitalism. Number 2, it is seeking to weaken the federal structure, which is part of the basic structure of this Constitution. Number 3, it seeks to muffle the voice of this House. I just want to explain that a bit. So as you know, as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned, members get elected from particular constituencies. The upper house is not just a house of elders. It's a house which reflects the ethos of the state from which representatives come to this house. They are representatives of the state. And the voice of the state is sought to be muffled through the initiation of this particular finance bill. Number 4, sir, is that in this bill, there are provisions which allow the government to snoop into the lives of citizens. Some people in the government may well be experienced in snooping, but this is a very disturbing trend, and I shall demonstrate it as I deal with particular provisions of the bill. Number 5, sir, is the fact that fear is the basis of compliance. And the enormous powers that have been given to the income tax officers proves this particular point, both in terms of businesses as well as interfering in the lives of citizens. And the last is the dismantling of established traditions ever since the Constitution came into force. So let me, sir, start with political funding. This is an essential feature of the finance bill. And I remember Mr. Jaitley, when he was in the opposition, eloquently stating that systems in government must be transparent. And we would like to do away with crony capitalism. We would like to make sure that political funding is transparent. And we certainly appreciated the sentiments of the distinguished minister who is now, of course, the finance minister. But what have they done in this bill? And I just want to place those facts before you. The original provision in the Companies Act, Article 154 of the Companies Act, had 3 elements to it in respect of political funding. First, no company can contribute politically to any particular party unless that company has been in operation for 3 years. Number 2, the amount of funding was capped at 7.5% of the net profits that company has made in the last 3 years with reference to the year in which the funding takes place. And number 3, that the funding had to be done through a board resolution. And the name of the particular political party and the acceptance of that political party of the funding was reflected in the board resolution. Now, what has this government done? And it really surprises me that someone who waxes eloquent about transparency and black money, this government has actually done away with the cap. In other words, any company can contribute any amount of money to any political party. But that's not all. What it has done away with is the fact that the political party that the company will fund, it will not be known to anybody. In other words, a company can, and this is what the provision says, it says every company shall disclose in its profit and loss account the total amount contributed by it under this section during the financial year to which the account relates. That's all. Which party it is going to, nobody will know. Even the shareholders will not know. Because it will be reflected in the profit and loss account. And if it's reflected in the profit and loss account, the name of the party will not be reflected there. Only the amount will be reflected. So this is the surest way to ensure that the political party in power gets all the funding that it needs. And sir, this is not limited only to Lok Sabha elections. It is limited, it will apply to state elections. It will apply to local body elections. And you can imagine the kind of havoc that it will cause. Companies who are crying for contracts, companies against whom proceedings are going to take place, companies who are financially in bad state, companies where restructuring is going to be done, will be asked to pay money into the kitty of a political party without that name, the name being disclosed, and there will be havoc, financial havoc. You're playing with the economy of the country, where you're playing with the future of the economic fabric of this nation. And you talk about transparency. Ultimately, even the shareholder cannot ask any question because he doesn't know. He doesn't know the amount of money that has been funded. He doesn't know which political party, and assuming the shareholders are against that party, how will they ever know? And how have you done this? Through the Finance Act. This is a pure amendment to the Companies Act. What has it got to do with the money bill? You should have brought it to the House. You should have initiated the amendment either in the Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha. The House would have sent it to the Standing Committee. The Standing Committee would have weighed the pros and cons of it, whether it's acceptable to the people of this country or not. And you surreptitiously, through the back door, in the last minute, move an amendment, and on the morning of the 22nd, when the bill is to be taken up in the other house, people even don't know what the amendment is. And after they have finished their speeches, they realize that this is the amendment. So they can't raise a voice there, they can't raise a voice here, because we have no voice, because it's a finance bill, so we cannot object. Is this the way to function? When you talk about embracing transparency and accountability? And will this lead to fair? Sir, I might say that free and fair elections are the essence of democracy. And if you allow this kind of funding to take place, what will happen to fair and fair elections? So these are very, very serious issues, sir. And I want to place these through you, sir, to the distinguished members of this House. And I think this is a public issue. And all of us should actually go to the people at large and say how democracy is being diminished in this particular fashion. The other thing that this bill does is to amend the Income Tax Act, Section 13A of the Income Tax Act. Under 13A of the Income Tax Act, sir, as you know, that any contribution beyond 20,000 rupees to any political party has to be disclosed. And now the contribution has been reduced to 2,000 rupees. Now, what has that got to do with the money bill? It's a pure electoral reform. It should have come to this House or gone to the Lok Sabha for the Standing Committee to contemplate and discuss the pros and cons of such an electoral reform. But you don't want that discussion to take place in this House. You want to muffle the voice of this House. You don't want the states to have a say in the kind of electoral reforms which will have far-reaching impact on the federal structure of this country and on the democratic process. The second point, sir, that I wish to raise, and that relates to the unbridled power that has been given to tax authorities. So as you might know that under Article 132 1 of the Income Tax Act, a search and seizure can take place after the income tax authorities give an order to the effect that he has reason to believe that certain documents are in the possession of the assessee which he is not likely to disclose, or that certain bullion or other undisclosed assets are in his possession, which is not likely to disclose. But the income tax officer under the old law had to give a reasoned order saying he has reason to believe that the assessee will not so disclose. Through an explanation of 132(1), that has been done away with. He will write down the reasons to disclose, but the explanation says, and I'll read the explanation, for the removal of doubts, it's hereby declared that the reason to believe as recorded by the income tax authority under this subsection shall not be disclosed to any person or any authority or appellate tribunal. Which means if I want to challenge that order saying that there was no reason to believe, supposing they income tax authorities want to raid a house of a political opponent, and they have no reason to believe, and they raid that house. No, he has no recourse. He can't challenge that raid saying that you had no information with you, because the reason to believe will not be disclosed to any authority. So I can't go to the income tax officer, I can't go to the appellate tribunal. I can only go under 226 to the High Court. And the High Court will say these are matters which relate to facts. Why should we interfere in our extraordinary jurisdiction? So the High Court will not interfere. The authority will never know, and you will have a field day. Now what kind of law is this? And the same thing you have done in the explanation to 132(1)(a), reason to suspect. He has to, in fact, write down his reason to suspect before he can actually raid. That also you have said, in an explanation you had said that he can record the reason to suspect, but that shall not be disclosed to any person or any authority or any appellate tribunal. So is this the transparency that the minister was talking about? Is this the accountable government that you were talking about? Is this the Achhedan that you were talking about to the people of this country? But even more serious than that, sir, these amendments go further. They say when an income tax officer raids and those reasons to believe have not to be disclosed or reasons to suspect have not to be disclosed, then he can attach the assets of that business which will remain attached for 6 months. That's called a provisional attachment under the amendment. So income tax officer goes, there's a running business, he raids and he attaches all the assets including the bank accounts. You finish the business. You'll finish the business. Which business can afford, supposing he has to deliver under the contract that he has to deliver some monies, he has to pay some monies out. He cannot, because the accounts will be seized. So he will breach contracts that he has entered into. If there's an import that is pending for which he has to pay money, he will not be able to pay the import duty. If there's a transaction which is inchoate, which is to be completed, he can't complete the transaction. What kind of laws are these? What regime are we living in? You are spreading fear in the minds of people, in the minds of business people in this country. And you talk about protecting the rights of citizens. And then, sir, more important than that, then ultimately authorities have to pass an order. And they will take 6 months to pass the order. In the meantime, the business will be over. This is only a provision to bargain with individuals, to extract money from business. This is to exploit businessmen in this country, to ensure it's a provision for extortion, and it is most unfortunate. And remember, sir, your manifesto, 2014, provide a non-adversarial and conducive tax environment. This is the non-adversarial and conducive tax environment that you are providing. rationalize and simplify the tax regime. This is simplifying. Yes, it is simplifying because it's simple to extract money now. Then, sir, there's another very important provision, and I think this is because of the experience that we've had in courts of law as to how this government has been targeting charitable institutions. Now they say that any income tax officer can conduct a survey over any charitable institution. That's a provision which was not there in the income tax before. That power to survey was only equipped businesses and business houses. But today it applies to charitable institutions. So if you have individuals who are fighting you day in and day out, you can go to their house, you can go to their place and start surveying. This is to instill fear on those charitable institutions who are actually fighting you politically. That's the intent of this provision. Where do citizens' rights go? Who will protect them? And the most surprising thing is that these issues are never going to be debated, either in that house or in this house. Because you bring these amendments on the morning of the 22nd, when the bill is going to be passed, give a surprise to the members of that house. We cannot debate it, because our debate will lead to nothing, because it's the finance bill. It will never be debated in any committee. And you have foisted on the country a regime that is that destroys the very fabric of our democratic structure. And of course, you say that this is all on account of your Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister says this is on account of my fight against black money. I want to get rid of black money in this people. The Finance Minister might kindly pay attention to another very important issue that I wish to raise. And that is in his budget speech. He made a very passionate appeal. And in fact told the people of this country that all you people are dishonest because you don't pay your taxes. You said that of the 125 crore people of this country, only 3.17 crore pay taxes. That's what you said. Now I have to try to do some calculations based on the demographics of this country and based on the 211 census. And I will place before you certain figures which I hope you appreciate. I found that the total number of households in this country are 24.7 crores. Of that, the number of urban households are 7.9 crores, and the number of rural households are 16.8 crores. The 2011 census says that of the 16.8 crores, 92% of the people living in those houses have an income of less than 10,000 rupees a month. The average number of people in a household is 4.8 in accordance with the census. So if you multiply 4.8 by into 16, the figure comes to 80.64 crores. That's the number of people living in households, and 92% of them come to 74.18 crores, which means 74.18 crores people in this country have an income of less than 10,000 rupees a month. Where will they pay taxes, sir? Where is the income to pay tax? Now let's come to the urban areas. And I'm taking these figures from the 2011 census. The total number of households in urban areas are 7.9 crores. And sir, of those households, and if you multiply 7.9 into 4.8, you come to 37.92 crore people. 6.4% of those people are below the poverty line. So you take away 10 crores. So 74 plus 10 crores, 84 crore people cannot pay taxes in this country because they don't have the income. Now you are left with what? Remaining persons are 27 crores. Of those 27 crores, sir, 48% are women who cannot pay taxes, who hardly pay taxes. And persons in the age group 18 to 23 are 14 crores. So you are left with a figure of 3 crores. Calculate, sir. You are left with a figure of 3 crores because the remaining persons are 27.91 crores, total remaining persons 34.37 crores, 48% are women, which is 16.49 crores, 18 to 23 are 14 crores, and these are 2011 figures. And you tell the people of this country that you are dishonest, that you don't pay your taxes, and that is why you want to unleash this terror regime and make people live in fear. And sir, if you had done your calculation, you would have never made that statement. And all your finance items in the finance bill are based on this calculation, that people don't pay their taxes. Sir, increase the prosperity of people in this country. Do something about investment. Do something about investment. Don't think that demonization has succeeded. Don't think demonetization has succeeded. It is demonization that has succeeded. Demonetization has not succeeded. You have been politically victorious. You have had an electoral victory. But what we need is a victory of policies. And the mindset that you have reflected in the finance bill shows that you are not interested in the prosperity of the people of this country. You are interested in the kind of Raj that we had before the Constitution came into force. Now, sir, the third point to wish to raise is how you have actually destroying the federal structure of this country and how you are treating this House as irrelevant. Now, sir, in your finance bill, if I may, sir, with your permission, point out part 14. And in this context, I might say that you have decided as a matter of policy to merge several tribunals and appellate tribunals. And there are several of them. I don't want to go into the numbers. And what you have done, for example, I'll give you an example. Under the Competition Act of 2002, you are replacing the tribunal that is the Competition Appellate Tribunal, that we call COMPAT, and merging it into the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Now, sir, I want to ask the distinguished Finance Minister, how is this a money bill? What has this got to do with the Financial Act? It's nothing to do with the Finance Act. It's a matter of policy, whether one tribunal should be merged with another or not. Now, tradition has it that you should bring an amendment. And this House should debate it. But you don't want this House to debate it because you know you don't have majority. You don't want that House to debate it because you have the majority. And this House you don't want to debate because you don't have the majority. So what democratic principles are you following that you waxed so eloquently about when you were sitting on this side? Then again, the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Act 2008, they had a tribunal of the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority Appellate Tribunal. You have merged it with the Telecom Disputes Settlement and Appellate Tribunal. Now, why would you do that? And the more serious, if I may just inform the members of this House through you, sir, the more serious issue is not the merger so much. That's a serious issue, but the more serious issue is that you have said that you will make the appointments to these tribunals yourself. In other words, all matters relating to appointments, eligibility of persons, term of office, salaries, allowances, resignation, removal and other conditions of service will be decided by government. So the power of appointment will be in your hands. In other words, you want the tribunals to do your bidding. They will be extensions of the executive because you will appoint people of your own choice. And as you remember, sir, and of course the distinguished finance minister is also a lawyer, he will remember in 2014 in the Supreme Court when the National Tax Tribunal issue came up, the Supreme Court said that the appointment of a judge has to be done through us. You've taken over that also. You will appoint a judge of your choice. You will appoint a judge of your choice. He will be probably a retired judge. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to take over the function of the courts? You are trying to make this house irrelevant? You don't want a debate in the Lok Sabha? No, sir, Lok Sabha, because they introduced it at the last minute. Rajya Sabha, they think is irrelevant. They think we are just irrelevant because our voice is not necessary to be heard. And when you set up committees, sir, it represents the House. Those committees will speak for the House. You will even muffle their voice. So 17 such acts have been amended. And in that process, sir, there is no accountability. No, 17. I've got the list. So this is, in respect of the manner in which you perceive tribunals to function in the years to come. Now let's go to an issue which is very close to my heart and very close to the then UPA government, that is the Aadhaar issue. And I want to start dealing with this issue by inviting this House's attention to what Narendra Modi said on April 8, 2014. He tweeted, and I will read his tweet. He said, on Aadhaar, neither the team that I met nor PM could answer my questions on security threat it can pose. There is no vision, only political gimmick. This is your Prime Minister's view on Aadhaar when he was in Gujarat. And what did you say, sir? I quote you in 2013 in an article that you wrote. This incident throws up another legitimate fear. We are now entering the era of the Aadhaar number, which you now embrace, which is your flagship program. This is the double talk of this government. सुना है कि वहां उत्तर प्रदेश में भी नाम बदल रहे हैं. पहले योगी आदित्यनाथ थे, अब आदित्यनाथ योगी हो गए. नीतियां भी बदलती हैं और नाम भी बदलते हैं. The government has recently made the existence of the Aadhaar number as a condition precedent for undertaking several activities, from registering marriages to execution of property documents. Will those who encroach upon the affairs of others be able to access to bank accounts and other important details by breaking into the system? See your concern for the citizen when you were in the opposition. You were fearful of Aadhaar breaking into the bank accounts of citizens. And today you willfully will break into the bank account of citizens. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because now you have said through the amendment that for every person who files an income tax return who has a PAN number, Aadhaar must be given. On the what precept, sir? On what basis? And you said, sir, then, if this ever happens, if ever becomes possible, the consequences would be far messier. This is what you said. Mr. Jaitley said. But of course, you know, wise men always change their opinions. That's the essence of wisdom. Right, because you keep on thinking afresh. And then one of your other very, very important BJP stalwart said, Aadhaar is the biggest fraud in the country. So why are you perpetuating that fraud on us, sir? Now, sir, something even more serious. In 2015, this matter went to the Supreme Court, and on August 12, 2015, in the context of whether citizens are entitled to disclose the Aadhaar number or not, or whether they can get subsidies without the Aadhaar number, the Supreme Court referred the matter to 5 distinguished judges. And sir, what's important is that this is the directions the Supreme Court passed. And I want to read them to you, sir. This is paragraph 22.1. The Union of India shall give wide publicity in the electronic and print media, including radio and television networks, that it is not mandatory for a citizen to obtain the Aadhaar card. 22.2. The production of an Aadhaar card will not be conditioned for obtaining any benefits otherwise due to a citizen. 22.3. The unique identification number of the Aadhaar card will not be used by the respondents for any purpose other than the PDS scheme. For any purpose other than the PDS scheme. And in particular for the purpose of distribution of food grains, etc., cooking fuel such as kerosene. The Aadhaar card may also be used for the purpose of the LPG distribution scheme. The information about an individual obtained by the Unique Identification Authority of India while issuing an Aadhaar card shall not be used for any other purpose, save as above, except as may be directed by a court for the purpose of criminal investigation. So what about these directions of the Supreme Court? You have violated even these directions. By saying that my income tax return will be invalid unless I give my Aadhaar number, you have violated the orders of the court. What is your explanation to that? Your explanation can only be arrogance of power. That I am supreme, like your leader is. That I gaze upon the world. And I don't know. I mean, there are qualities of Himmler, of Goebbels, that I see. And maybe some of these qualities are coalesced in one individual. I don't know who that is. But this is we fear for ourselves. Because once an Aadhaar number is given, what will happen? You will have a software which on the basis of that Aadhaar number will tell you where that person is going from which flight to which place. What activities he is following. If you say you must give it to the bank as well, then his banking transactions can be hacked. And if the Pentagon can be hacked, why not the Aadhaar?
It's the EVM.
Anything can be hacked. The hackers are well ahead of you. And you can imagine the kind of havoc that it will cause. I can understand that you are convinced about your policy, and I'm glad that you have embraced the Aadhaar, despite the fact that you opposed it. I'm glad, because I think it's a great thing. But it was meant only for the public distribution system. It was meant that targeted subsidies should reach the targeted people. That's the purpose of Aadhaar. That monies that move out of the consolidated fund of India must reach the consumer, whether in the form of fertilizer subsidy or food security or LPG. That was the purpose of Aadhaar, not for you to pry into the affairs of others. Not for you to find out where you are going and what you are doing. We're not living in a police state, sir. So you'll have to answer this as to why you've done this. And why you are so disrespectful about what the Supreme Court has said. And you said, sir, I remember, you said it all the time, and our Prime Minister said it, that we will give you minimum government and maximum governance.
Now, Kapil Sibal,
this is maximum government.
Pakistan is going to be over.
And minimum governance. Sir, if you don't mind. If you look, otherwise I'll sit down. I'm saying I'm trying to. Don't mind, sir. What is this?
We have to extend the time, sir.
Eh?
Sir, we shall have to extend. This is a very important.
This has
Then
huge
we have to
consequences.
extend the time for everybody, not for ourselves, but for all the parties.
If the House decides, I have no problem.
Yeah, I think the House will definitely decide.
You have given a 3-hour debate.
Yeah.
It is impossible in this 3 hours, sir. If you want all of us to actually express our concern, if you want to reduce this to a mere formality, then it's a different point. But if you want to be serious about it, I think seriously, you increase this time limit at least
No,
at least
Sir,
double
consider
the time.
this.
It's for the House to decide, no?
Yes, I'm proposing to through you to the House, sir. I'm proposing through you to the House. Please take the sense. Please take the sense. And eight hour debate like we normally have for the for important issues.
The time that has been allotted is allotted by everybody's consent and consultation. No, wait now. When our honorable members say this is mere formality and other things, it pains
No,
me.
that is.
Now, my
I
only request is...
I will explain that.
No.
That is okay.
My
I
only
accept that.
request is you can extend it by some more time, not double the time and all that.
I have great respect for concern, but don't say it has been accepted through consensus. There, right at the meeting in the BSc itself, we had said this is an important issue, it will require more time. But that was not considered. That's a different point. But don't say it's but through consensus.
No, House is supreme. House can decide. I have no problem. Yeah, House can decide. So how much time to extend it to the House? Double? No. No. 8 hours is...
1 more hour.
8 hours is too much. Huh?
6 hours then. 6, good. 4th already had.
No. Only 3 hours.
So 6 hours.
Yeah. Okay. 5 hours. 5 hours, that's okay. No, that's all. No. I took the balance of that. 8 hours here. No. You said, no. 8 and 1 and all, I took the average, 5 hours. 5 hours.
That's the second point.
Say 5 hours, you require the Aadhaar card number. No, please, sir, don't.
That's enough.
You double the number.
That's enough.
Double.
No, what difference? See, HRG,
बोलने वाला, अभी बोले वाला.
8 hours, but the government said I had only 1 more hour. Somebody said 5 hours. So I took the average.
6 hours.
See, 5 hours.
Sir,
change the small parties and the independent.
No, nobody will be.
Yes, that is what
If the name is here, I will call.
Yes, but
If the name is not here, I am not.
in 3 minutes.
No, I am telling you. If the name is here, I will call. If your name is not there, I am not responsible. Yeah.
सर समय
अरे 5
समय जो है वो 3 घंटे का बीएससी में तय हुआ था. उस समय कुछ ऑनरेबल मेंबर्स का ये भी सजेशन था कि अप्रोप्रिएशन के साथ ही जो है फाइनेंस बिल लिया जाए. तो उसमें फिर ये हुआ कि कुछ लोगों ने कहा कि इस पे अलग से 2 घंटे डिस्कशन हो, फिर 3 घंटे हुआ. तो मुझे लगता है कि 3 hours इज सफिशिएंट.
That you can't say now.
नहीं.
No. You don't sit down. Your own parliament.
But my senior.
What are you doing? Your own parliamentary minister asked me to extend by 1 hour. You already said.
No problem.
But
लेकिन जो
no.
स्थिति थी वहाँ पर
No.
सर बीएससी में
Sit down.
No, there is no contradiction. No contradiction. 4 hours is okay. But उस दिन जो है वो ये हुआ था कि एप्रोप्रिएशन के साथ ही फाइनेंस बिल लिया है जैसे रेलवे कर रहे हैं.
Nakri ji, Parliamentary Affairs Minister informed me I can extend 1 more hour. From this side, suggestion came 8 hours and 6 hours. So chair took a consensus and balanced view 5 hours. Proceed. 5 hours. Proceed. No, that is not my concern.
6 लोगों के नाम
If Congress has given more name, it is not my job.
बोलेंगे
No.
उधर से भी 2-3 लोग बोलेंगे
No, please.
हम भी बोलेंगे तो ये भी बोलेंगे
No.
8 hours minimum
No, I'm not agreeing. I will not call any name other than in this list. I'm telling you. Yeah, if you are not given name.
6 names are in your
Hey,
list
Kapil.
from Congress side.
Go and give your name also.
That is not my job to accommodate all Congress side people. They should give the name.
दो
After
वैसे
seeing the
फाइनेंस
time.
बिल के नाम पर इस सदन को कोई राइट नहीं है हम लोग तो इसका विरोध करते हैं और उसके
So
बाद अगर बोलने का right
then
हमारा छीन लेंगे
I can
तो variety क्या रह
okay.
जाएगा?
Then I will withdraw my suggestion.
Sir,
Yeah.
1 minute. Reply is at 5. Reply is at 5. 5.
No.
Reply.
No. Chair has.
Reply is what time? Reply is what
I'll
time?
tell you. Chair has, having heard both sides, chair has given a decision 5 hours. We are proceeding accordingly. Now, Sri.
Hey,
Yeah,
including
certainly.
reply.
Why
Yes.
not?
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a good suggestion that appropriation bill should also be brought into this and give 6 hours. Please consider.
Yeah, please. No, sir. No. Why do you worry about that? No, please. We are wasting time.
to discuss. So therefore, you add that also.
No, that will
So
come.
you take for 6
Discussion
hours.
5 hours. Don't worry.
6 hours.
Yeah, discussion
6
5
hours.
hours. Sit down. So
what I was saying was,
So you recast.
what I was saying was that this
Recast.
government had promised minimum government and maximum governance.
So one more second. Each party should adhere to their time. 5 hours. Each party should adhere to their time. Please.
Allow me, please.
Yeah, please.
But what the government has demonstrated over the years, in the last more than 2.5 years, that they believe in maximum government and minimum governance. सर मुझे कई बार ये बात जब भी हम चर्चा करते हैं, जब मौलिक अधिकारों पे हमला होता है तो चर्चा होती है अक्सर कि इमरजेंसी में क्या हुआ था। दूसरी तरफ से ये बात आती है तो इमरजेंसी में तो 2 अहम बातें थी। पहली बात तो ये जो मीडिया था ये चौकन्ना था, मीडिया सरकार के खिलाफ जाता था, ये बात सही थी। लेकिन आज मीडिया भी आपके पॉकेट में, आज का आप, क्योंकि उसका रीजन है, मैं बताता हूं, एक बार सुन तो लीजिए, उसका रीजन है कि जो मीडिया हाउसेस हैं वो बिजनेस भी करते हैं, वो मीडिया को कंट्रोल भी करते हैं। जब ऐसे प्रावधान आप टैक्स रेजिम में लाओगे तो वो कहेगा कि साहब मैं अपनी बिजनेस तो बचा लूं, बाकी तो बाद में देखूंगा। और वहां कोर्ट्स भी चौकन्ने थे। वैसे मैं आपको ये बता दूं जेटली साहब, ये जो आपने संशोधन लाया ना इनकम टैक्स में, ये कोर्ट रद्द करने वाली है। वक्त आपको बता देगा कि जिस तरह से बैकडोर से आपने ये संशोधन लाया है, कोर्ट इसको सही मानेगा नहीं। कुछ और बात आपके सामने मैं रखना चाहता हूं, वो ये है कि you introduced all this in the finance bill, and this is an issue that has been raised by my colleagues also, that this is not the way to introduce legislation, and this is not consistent with the traditions of Parliament and the traditions of this House. Because as long as a bill is a money bill, of course it has to be introduced in the Lok Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha has no right except to make suggestions, then of course you can reject them. But if it's a finance bill, and the provisions in that finance bill have really no relationship, are not integrally connected to a money bill or to the financial provisions, then you cannot possibly include those in the finance bill, and should not. And in this context, I want to tell you, and I want to in fact put in place what Mavlankar ji said way back. I think it was in 1956, I think, or 56, if I may say. First, I'll give you the ruling in 1952. Mavlankarji said, because it was in the context of Article 110 of the Constitution. He said, I think prima facie the word only is not restrictive to the scope of the general terms. If a bill substantially deals with the imposition, abolition of a tax, then the mere fact of the inclusion in this bill of other provisions, which may be necessary for the administration of that tax, or I may say necessary for the achievement of the objective of the particular bill, cannot take away the bill from the category of money bills. Perfectly good. We have no quarrel with that. One has to look at the objective of the bill. Therefore, if the substantial provisions of the bill aim at imposition, abolition of any tax, then the other provisions would be incidental, and their inclusion cannot be said to take it away from the category of a money bill. Unless one construes the word only in this way, it might lead to Article 10 being a nullity. And that's right. But what I want to ask the distinguished finance minister is, how is this relevant in the context of merging of tribunals? How is the merging of tribunals anything to do with a financial transaction or a money bill? That's the question that you have to answer, which unfortunately has not been answered, and this is something that we need to debate. But you have, through, and of course the Lok Sabha speaker has ruled in your favor, and I don't want to make any comment on that, but I want to remind you of what Mavlankarji said in 1956, which you did not quote in the Lok Sabha. And I'll read that to you. He said, I would normally urge upon the finance minister, not only he, but also his successors, to see that only those provisions which relate to the raising of taxations should be included in the bill. The procedure should be followed, and no other provision should be given attention to unless that is absolutely consequential. Now, many of the amendments that you have made are neither absolutely consequential, nor do they relate to taxing provisions.
Keep it here. Don't write it.
So why are you doing this? You will go down in history. You will go down in history as having violated the traditions of this House. You will go down in history as having muffled the voice of this House. You will go down in history as having tried to manipulate the federal structure of the Constitution. Why do you want to? Why do you want history to say that about you? What harm is it if we were to debate these issues here? And what is your intent in doing this? May I also quote here what Erskine May said on this, in this context. A bill which contains any of the enumerated matters and nothing besides is indisputably a money bill. If it contains any other matters, then unless these are subordinate matters incidental to any of the matters so contained in the bill is not a money bill. Further, if the main object of the bill is to create a new charge on the consolidated fund or on money provided by Parliament, the bill will not be certified if it is apparent that the primary purpose of the new charge is not purely financial. So even if it's a new charge, for example, you want to set up a commission, for example, you want to set up an education commission, ultimately money will go from the Consolidated Fund of India, because monies will have to be set, but it is essentially nothing to do with a money bill. It will be a new charge at a later point in time. So you can't possibly get that passed through the Lok Sabha on the ground that many of these amendments that I have made will involve transactions and appropriation from the Consolidated Fund of India, which will happen at a later point in time. So I wonder why the finance minister is wishing to subvert the constitution in this fashion. Sir, मैं कुछ चंद बातें कह के अपनी बात खत्म करूंगा. पहली बात तो ये है कि इस देश में जब तक जो किसान के लिए हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, तब तक इस देश का सुधार नहीं होगा. और जब हम लोग हंस रहे हैं, लेकिन he who laughs last laughs the most। और जिस तरह से इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ती जा रही है, और आपके सामने मैं कुछ आंकड़े रखूंगा, 2014 में जो चावल का भाव था वो 28 रुपया था, और 2017 में 30 रुपया हो गया, 7.14% बढ़ा। गेहूं का भाव 22% बढ़ा है, 2014 में 18 था, यहां अब 22 है। आटा का भाव 19% बढ़ा, तूर दाल का भाव 36% बढ़ा, 76 था 2014 में, अब 104 है। उड़द का 69% बढ़ा, पहले 65 था, अब 110 है। मसूर दाल का 29% बढ़ा। ऐसे मैं कई आंकड़े आपको दे सकता हूं। मस्टर्ड ऑयल का 26% बढ़ा। तो महंगाई तो बढ़ती जा रही है और किसान आत्महत्या करता जा रहा है। जितनी आत्महत्या 2014 के बाद हुई है, इतिहास में नहीं हुई। और सच्चाई तो यह है कि जो किसान की आमदनी है, आम आदमी आमदनी है, वो महीने की 3,800 रुपया है। हाउस होल्ड इनकम रूरल सेक्टर में 3,800 रुपया है। आंकड़े हैं। और द नेशनल एवरेज डेट ऑफ अ फार्मर वो 47,000 रुपया है। ये एवरेज डेट है किसान की, जो कर्ज है 48,000 है। और आप कहते थे कि वी विल, द एनडीए कहता था द एनडीए शुड स्टैंड बिहाइंड ऑल फार्मर्स हिट बाय नेचुरल कैलामिटीज लाइक द रिसेंट हेल स्टॉर्म्स और इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस। आई शैल नॉट, दिस इज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर स्टेटमेंट, आई शैल नॉट बी एबल टू स्लीप पीसफुली टिल आई डू समथिंग फॉर यू। मैं सो नहीं पाऊंगा जब तक मैं आपके लिए कुछ नहीं करूं। तो प्रधानमंत्री जी, आप सो क्यों रहे हो? आप सो क्यों रहे हो? ना 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 ना, रात को अच्छी तरह से सोते हैं। मतलब कि जो किसान है, मतलब जो आत्महत्या बढ़ी हैं वो 42% बढ़ी हैं पिछले 2-3 सालों में। And what have you, in your finance bill, what have you done about investment, sir? What are the incentives that you have given on investment? The only thing you have done is that as far as the medium-scale sector is concerned, if the turnover is less than 50 crores, you've brought the tax rate to 25%. But that is only quick companies. What about partnerships? वो तो कंपनियों के ऊपर ही लागू है। अगर 50 करोड़ का उनकी आमदनी 50 करोड़ से कम है, तो टर्नओवर 50 करोड़ से कम है, तो तब 25% टैक्स होगा। लेकिन पार्टनरशिप पे लागू नहीं है, सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप पे लागू नहीं है। और जो बड़ी कंपनियां जिनका 50 करोड़ से ज्यादा होगा, वो अपनी डाउनसाइज कर लेंगी, 2 कंपनियां बना लेंगे। आपने बाकियों के लिए क्या किया? रोजगार के लिए आपने क्या किया? 2015-16 में आपने वादा किया था कि इस देश में रोजगार 2,000 करोड़ रुपया होगा, 2 करोड़ होगा सालाना, 2 करोड़ होगा। लेकिन जो पिछले 15-16 का आंकड़ा है वो 1,35,000 है। कोई कहते हैं 1,50,000 है। चलिए मान लें। तो अगर नवयुवक, जो हमारी महिलाएं हैं, जो हमारे बच्चे हैं, यूनिवर्सिटी से बाहर निकल के उनको रोजगार नहीं मिलेगा, तो वो जाएंगे कहां? फिर वो एबीवीपी बन के हमला करेंगे जेएनयू पे, फिर वो गुजरात में हमला करेंगे। और आप समझ रहे हो कि आपने एक चुनाव जीत लिया तो हिंदुस्तान जीत लिया। आपको बड़ी गलतफहमी है, आपको बड़ी गलतफहमी है, आपको बड़ी गलतफहमी है। चुनाव आदमी जीत सकता है, हमें मालूम है कौन से षड्यंत्र इस्तेमाल कर जीत सकता है। लेकिन जब तक आप देश की हालत को सुधारोगे नहीं, और मुझे कुछ नहीं लग रहा है कि कोई आप ऐसी नीति नहीं है जिससे आप देश की हालत सुधारने वाले हैं। ना किसान की हालत इतनी बदतर है। जो आपने वादा किया था कि जो किसान का जो उनको वेतन मिलेगा वो 50% कॉस्ट के अबव मिलेगा। नहीं, एमएसपी तो बात की बात है कि उनको हम 50% प्लस कॉस्ट देंगे, 50% अबव कॉस्ट देंगे। कहां दिया आप? हाँ स्वामीनाथन, आपने कहां दिया? अभी आपके यूपी में क्या हुआ? आपने ऐलान किया था हम लोन वेवर कर देंगे, और वित्त मंत्री जी ने स्टेटमेंट दे दी हम नहीं कर सकते। प्रधानमंत्री ने कह दिया हम नहीं कर सकते, ये तो प्रदेश ही करेगा। तो चुनाव के लिए तो लोन वेवर और चुनाव के बाद कोई वेवर नहीं, हम नहीं कर सकते। ये कौन सी नीतियां हैं? ये कौन सी नीति है? ये कौन सी नीति है? तो किसान के लिए कुछ नहीं, युवा लोगों के लिए कुछ नहीं, रोजगार के लिए कुछ नहीं, आत्महत्या बढ़ती जा रही है, इंडस्ट्री के लिए कुछ नहीं, एक्सपोर्ट कमती होती जा रही है, इन्वेस्टमेंट आ नहीं रही, और आप डिजिटल इंडिया की बात करते हो। मैंने आपको आंकड़े दिए कि इस देश में अगर लगभग 90 करोड़ ऐसे लोग हैं, 100 करोड़ ऐसे लोग हैं जिनकी आमदनी 10,000 से कम है, तो आपका डिजिटल इंडिया होगा, लागू कैसे होगा? और डिजिटल इंडिया लागू कैसे होगा, मैं आपसे वित्त मंत्री जी पूछना चाहता हूं। डिजिटल इंडिया तभी लागू होगा ना अगर फाइबर ऑप्टिक नेटवर्क सारे देश हिंदुस्तान में लगेगा। और आपका मंत्रालय जो है, टेलीकॉम मंत्रालय, वो कहता है कि अभी केवल 75,000 ग्राम पंचायत कनेक्ट हुई है। 75,000, 2.5 लाख ग्राम पंचायत को कनेक्ट होना है, 75,000 कनेक्ट हुई हैं, तो 2.5 लाख कब कनेक्ट होंगी? और अगर ग्राम पंचायत कनेक्ट हो भी जाएं तो लास्ट माइल कनेक्टिविटी कौन देगा? ग्राम पंचायत से वो फाइबर ऑप्टिक लाइन स्कूल पे जाएगी, ग्राम पंचायत से वो घरों पे जाएगी, वो कौन देगा? उसका पैसा कौन खर्चेगा? और वो कब होगा? तभी आप कहते हो ना कि मैं ऐसा है, मुझे तो केवल कांग्रेस को आपने 60 साल दिए, मुझे 60 महीने दो। ये कहते थे ना, जब 60 महीने मिल गए तो बोले मुझे तो 120 चाहिए। ये आपका खत्म ही नहीं होगा। ये भी एक जुमला है। जब तक आप देश की जनता की आमदनी नहीं बढ़ाओगे तब तक देश में कुछ नहीं होने वाला। ना डिजिटल इंडिया, ना स्टैंड अप इंडिया, ना स्टार्टअप इंडिया, सब सिट डाउन इंडिया होगा। कुछ नहीं होने वाला। तो मैं आपसे इल्तिजा करता हूं कि ये जुमले बंद करो, ये इलेक्शन स्पीचेस बंद करो। ये जो आपने जो चालू किया है ना उत्तर प्रदेश में, अभी गुजरात में भी आपने चालू कर दिया। 60 घर उजड़ गए, 60 घर को जला दिया, 2 लोग मार दिए, कई लोग सीरियसली इंजर्ड हैं। अब उत्तर प्रदेश के बाद गुजरात, और फिर बात करते हो आप डेवलपमेंट की। ये है आपका डेवलपमेंट। डेवलपमेंट ऑफ योर कम्युनल एजेंडा इज योर रियल डेवलपमेंट। ये असलियत है। और मुझे दुख है, बड़ा दुख है कि मैं समझता था कि इतनी बहुमत के साथ आप लोकतंत्र को आगे बढ़ाओगे। इतनी बहुमत आपको मिली है कि आप हमारी आवाज सुनोगे। इतनी बहुमत आपको मिली है कि आपको यह क्षमता होगी, आप लोगों का दर्द सहो, दर्द को समझो, जनता के लिए कुछ करो। वो जो आप राजनीति कर रहे हो उसको छोड़ दो। कुछ उस महिला की आंखों में देखो जिसको लगता है कि अगले दिन मेरे लिए कुछ नहीं है, मेरा सवेरा तो आने ही नहीं वाला। ऐसे वो महिला सोचती है। उस महिला की नजर मिला के फिर कुछ करो उस महिला के लिए, उस बच्चे के लिए करो कुछ जिसके लिए स्कूल जाने को पैसा नहीं है, कोई टीचर नहीं है, उसको पढ़ाएगा कौन? उनके लिए कुछ करो। रंग बिरंगे जो है ना आप जुमले चला रहे हो वो छोड़ दो, और अपने दिल से पूछो कि मैंने क्या किया, जीतने के लिए क्या किया, और उससे तुमको तो बहुत कुछ मिल गया, देश को क्या मिलेगा ये तो वक्त ही बताएगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
ओके, थैंक यू श्री कपिल सिबल जी, थैंक यू।